You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about compromise. How do we find a compromise in relationships, with ourselves, our goals, our personal development? How do we find compromise in life when it gives us those curveballs or those tragedies or those crises? How do we do that? That is what we're going to focus on today. So I want you to think about where in your life you need to find a compromise. And then over the course of this show, we want to put together a call to action of how you can bring that compromise into your life so you have the freedom to live your life full out. We're also going to be taking your calls. That number is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. Now, if you want to hear today's show again, I want you to go to livingfullout.com. All of our episodes will be waiting there for you. And next in our segment, after this one, will be Janine Shepherd, our inspirational guest for today, and how she has compromised over and over again in her life after a tragic accident in 1986. She'll be sharing that story with us. It's inspirational and really makes me think about how much I cherish life. Even though I'm legally blind, she really gives me a new way of looking at how to live full out. So you want to listen to that. And then also, if you have questions or if you need resources beyond today's show, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Again, connect@livingfullout.com, because we are here for you during the show and after the show to support you. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line, so we're going to go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to Living Full Out Show. How can I help you?
Hi, this is Ben. I'm just wondering if you could help me with a problem.
Yeah, Ben, what's going on?
I have a problem with schoolwork. I often get distracted or sidetracked whenever I try to study or do group projects. This kind of leads me to doing it last minute, kind of procrastinating or never getting it done at all. Mm-hmm. I have tried to look online for some help. Everyone says maybe go alone and study, but that just makes me kind of lack discipline. There's no one watching me, and I kind of just get sidetracked. I was wondering if you could help.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question, and think about the most recent example of this. When you procrastinated and you left things to the last minute, and maybe they did work out, maybe they did not work out, how did that make you feel?
That kind of made me feel extremely stressed, I guess. I was trying to cram everything in, and it actually didn't really work out for me. It didn't do so well.
And it didn't work out, right? And that is very common.
No.
So I want you to know that you're not alone. And I'm going to raise my hand as well, because I have been there. You can read all the resources in the world online. They can tell you what to do. But the secret is, the answer is always within you. What you just said to me of how it made you feel, when you feel that once, twice, multiple times in your life, that should fuel the fire for not wanting to feel that way. Because believe it or not, life is meant to be exhaled. It's meant to feel free, not feel bounded, not feel chained, not feel stressed. So you're actually causing that to yourself. It's not the fault of another person. It's not the exam. It's not the teacher. It's not life throwing these things at you. The answer is within you. And only you can decide when you are fed up with treating yourself that way. That's it. I am done. No more. And how you get to the other side is you be your own captain of your own ship, right? You be your own discipliner. You have to do it, nobody else. And that might be creating a schedule. And maybe even faking yourself out. I used to do this in school, actually, because that's when I did procrastinate. If you have an exam, let's say 2 weeks from now, Pretend that that exam is next week. It might mean that you have a really stressful this week, but I promise you that the week that you really need the most sleep, the week that you wish you could just kind of freshen up on things, will be that second week right before the exam. So moving up deadlines, kind of faking yourself out a little bit, will help.
Yeah.
Scheduling will help. Also, find an accountability buddy, someone to keep you accountable. So if you tell somebody, listen, I have an exam in 2 weeks, but I'm going to fake myself out that I have it this week, I want you to call me every day and make sure that I'm doing my studying. Have somebody else keep you accountable. Are those things that you've tried, or are those things that you can do?
I haven't tried either of them actually. But I think they sound like really good things that I can try. I do have something coming up, and I'll see how it goes with that.
Absolutely.
I'll go try that.
When is that deadline? What's coming up?
I have an exam in a week, and maybe I'll try to pretend like it's in like 3 days or something.
Absolutely.
And try to study a little more for it.
Absolutely. Pretend that it's like, if it's a week from now, 7 days from now, cut that down to 3-4 days. And then you can actually sleep. You can actually be peaceful going into that exam. It'll be a much different experience, and I promise you, your results will be well worth it also. Okay? But thank you so much for calling in. All right. Thank you so much.
You.
So I really enjoyed his question, because how many of us have all been there? Really, we've all been a procrastinator at one point in our life, and we've all had to find that compromise with time, with ourselves, to get it done. And sometimes we don't figure that out till later in life, but eventually we mature, we evolve, we grow, or at least we strive to, right? I know some people are laughing with me on that one, because it's a long-term, lifelong goal that we don't procrastinate. I'm going to go back to the phone lines now. We have another caller with us. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the
Nancy,
show.
how are you?
I'm great, thank you. So how can we help you today?
I had a question that was kind of gauged a little bit towards students. As a working student, a lot of my time is spent on projects and pursuing goals for the future. Mm-hmm. While these are purposeful, I find myself feeling burnt out and losing drive. Do you have any motivation tips for young people struggling with burnout when it seems like the journey is just beginning?
Well, so here's the thing. You are that person, right? And you are the one burning out. So let's talk about that. When you find yourself burning out, what do you say to yourself? How do you feel?
Typically, I think that means searching for the purpose in what I'm doing. Regarding students, it seems like there's a lot of effort being put into this one thing that has not it's not been fruitful as of yet. We're putting so much effort into something that's not paying off, if that makes sense. So we're looking for purpose in that.
Well, that makes sense, but what I'm asking you to do, and this is kind of the learning in it, is I want you to bring it more personal to you. So I'm not sure what your studies are or what your major is, but you're stuck a little bit in your head, a little bit, okay? And when you're in your head, that's where the negative talk happens. That's where we get locked in stress mode, when we're in our head. What I want you to do is make the leap from your head to your heart. And that's not always an easy one. And the reason why I say that is when we overcommit in life and we're in our head, to do, that list, oh my gosh, anxious, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's all in our head, right? But if you translate that to your heart, now your heart wants to cry. Your heart is anxious because what if I can't do what I promised? Your heart is vulnerable.
Right.
You want to get into your heart, because when you're in your heart versus your head, that's when your passion for what you're trying to do will carry you through. And it's interesting because over time here, when you can operate and function in life more from your heart than your head, that actually enrolls people. That inspires people. That even makes people want to give you a helping hand more than just spewing what's in our head. And we've all done it. I've been there too. That's oftentimes when we're trying to look good. That's oftentimes when we've, again, overcommitted ourselves, when we're trying to be something, acting as if. And what I want you to do is take today, take this week, and whatever you're in your head, say, nope, I'm going to go with what's in my heart. How do I feel? Let that be your guide. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I believe in you. You will do great. So, and keep us posted on your progress. Okay? All right. Well,
Okay, will do.
thank you. Well, coming back after this commercial break, we're going to have our inspirational guest, Janine Shepherd. You don't want to miss it. And also, this is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari. It's all about living full out and finding compromise in life. We will be right back.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe it could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same. Your daughter is having trouble learning French. Do you A, hire a tutor?
Bonjour.
B, enforce a French-only rule at home? Or C, watch some foreign films? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same. You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, babe.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Drop that baby.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Papa! I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. Today we're talking about compromise, how in life sometimes we just have to meet others halfway, but also find within ourselves a place where we can be happy, that we can be content, that we can find peace. And that is all compromise within our own personal journey. Now, our inspirational guest today is Janine Shepherd, and she had to find that compromise with her own body, with her goals for her life. She was an accomplished cross-country skier and an Australian hopeful for the Olympics in 1986 when tragedy did find her. But she didn't just settle for, what was she didn't just settle for what was coming at her, all the pain, all the rehab that needed to be done. She fought for her life, and today her story is not only inspiring, but it's really remarkable as to how the human body can heal and how we can rise above any of those tragedies or crises that come our way. So I'd very much like to welcome Janine to the show. Hello, hello.
Hi. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Thank you for having me today.
I am wonderful, and you too. I'm so glad to have you here. So I want to take our audience back to the day of the accident. I mean, you were living your dream. You were living full out, I would say, in so many ways. Can you share with us that day and what happened?
I certainly was. I thought I had everything that I'd worked for my whole life in front of me, and I was focused and determined, to really do something that no Australian had ever done before, and that was to, achieve at the Winter Olympics, not just to get there, but to have a performance that would make people stand up and say, wow, I didn't know an Australian could ski. A lot of people don't realise we have actually great snow in Australia. And, all the stars were aligning. I was in, my times and my results were so promising that I was invited to join the Canadian team in the lead up to the Olympics, to train with them, use all their facilities. And, that's where I was, completely focused. I was driven. That was, everything that I'd worked for my entire life. And I sat down on a training bike ride with my teammates who were riding from Sydney up to an area west of Sydney called the Blue Mountains, and it was about a 6-hour bike ride. And I'd been on my bike for around, I had probably had about 10 minutes to go on the ride. And my last memory was just, riding up this very steep hill, looking up and seeing the sun shining in my face, and then everything went black, and that was my last memory.
And everything went black, and when you woke up, and your first memory was what?
Well, I'll just, fill in the missing pieces there, because I was in what I call my death experience for around 10 days. I've been hit by a speeding truck, and, the ambulance picked me up. They flew me down in a Westpac rescue helicopter down to a large spinal unit in Sydney, and nobody thought that I would survive. They didn't even think I would survive the short ride from the accident site to the local hospital, because I had such extensive injuries. I'd broken my neck and my back in 6 places, broke 5 ribs on my left side, my right arm, my collarbone, bones in my feet. I had head injuries, internal injuries, massive blood loss. I lost about 5 litres of blood, which is all someone my size would actually hold. And so by the time the helicopter arrived at the hospital in Sydney, my blood pressure was 40 over nothing. So, they'd basically written me off.
Well, and I want everyone to soak that up for a second. Think of all those injuries, all that pain that thankfully your body was not feeling at that time, but that's an immense amount of injuries. And so when you did get to the hospital and you had these 10 days where you were kind of having this out-of-body experience, what do you remember of that time?
Well, Well, funnily enough, it was a very odd experience. It took me a long time to try to make sense of it because it wasn't like anything that I'd ever read about. I sort of devoured books on what they call NDEs, near-death experiences, after my accident, and couldn't work out why mine was so different. I had this, awareness of being in and out of my body, in and out of consciousness. There was part of me that was very aware of my body looking on, but it was in this immense pain. I could feel that pain, and then I would be out of my body again, and in this different dimension, guided through this experience from, I wasn't alone on this experience, and people are always fascinated about it. It's such a difficult thing, a very personal thing to try and even convey to people that, all I can say is that I wasn't alone. Mm-hmm. I knew that I could stay where I was if I chose, and I didn't want to go back to my body because I knew that it was broken. I knew that my life as an athlete would be over, and that's who I was. I was an athlete. And for whatever reason, I chose to come back to my body. And I remember opening my eyes and, it was almost confusion because part of me said, you're not meant to be here. And then, of course, I was. And then that's really the journey had begun.
And
the journey of really finding out who I was.
And who broke the news to you as to what had happened, as to the extent of your injuries?
Yeah. It was very gradual. They didn't tell me straight away because they told my parents, don't tell her anything, she'll give up. It was just too devastating. And because, I came back, I was paralyzed when I woke up in hospital, so I had no movement from the waist down. And they thought at that stage that I would never walk again. I had major spinal surgery to to try to sort of rectify that. I had what's called a comminuted fracture, so L1. Most of the breaks, obviously no broken back, as you can say, is an easy thing, but L1 in my back was, the vertebrae was completely crushed and all that bone was in my spinal cord. So even when they operated, they took out my ribs, they rebuilt my vertebrae, my back. They didn't know, and they never can tell how successful it's going to be. And of course, I left hospital 6 months later in a wheelchair and was told that I would have to rethink my life and I would never be able to do the things I did before.
And for an athlete, for someone who was known as Janine the Machine, that was your nickname, I do believe.
Yes. That was my nickname.
That is not just a gulp. But that would make so many crumble and just say, pull the plug. I don't want to be here. This was a mistake. What made you fight?
Yeah, which is exactly, it is what happened, actually. I mean, I was in a hospital. It was I was in incredible amount of pain, lying on that flat, hard spinal bed. But everyone had a story. Everyone was injured. So it was sort of like I was the same as everyone else. And it wasn't really until I got home and back into my old life, back into my bedroom,
that you realized what had actually happened.
Yes,
well, we have to take a commercial break, Janine, but I want to come back to this place after we return. So stay with us, okay? And everybody, we're talking to Janine Shepherd right now. She's telling us her story. And when we come back, we'll continue on, and she'll give us those life lessons that we're all thirsty for. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Go, bro. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. So wet. Red shirt, blue shirt, yellow shirt. Oops. Yellow pants, red pants, green pants. Oops.
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
Maybe I'll say that. Maybe I'll say that.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Connor is struggling in school.
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
Why do you not get me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Is no less than any other family.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about compromise in life and how do we find our way to a compromise? How do we know when we're making the right negotiations with ourselves or others? Now, we're talking today to our inspirational guest, Janine Shepherd, and her story is inspiring, as I promised, but just to remind us all where she was as an Olympic hopeful for Australia in 1986. She was in a tragic accident. She broke her back, she broke her neck, so many different aches and pains and broken bones and you name it, that it was going to come with years of rehabilitation. Her spirit did get broken that day, but she found her way. She compromised with her body just to go on and to thrive and not give up. And that is what the Living Full Out spirit is all about. So I'd very much like to welcome Janine back to the show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Thank you again for being here. So in the last segment, you were sharing with us, about the accident, about your injuries. And you were starting to go into the other people that you met within that spinal ward, who all had very similar injuries, And what I think is so interesting,
Yeah.
and having done my research on your story, is that you all couldn't just get up and shake hands and give each other a hug. You were all on your beds, laying down. What was that atmosphere like amongst those people?
Staring at the ceiling. Of course.
Exactly. What was
You know,
that?
because we couldn't move our
Did you?
heads because we had broken necks as well. It was incredible. It was a very rich experience, I have to say, and it really opened my, mind to a new way of viewing the world. In that, I'd mixed with athletes before, and it was very self-indulgent. And, these were people that I never normally would have had anything to do with, and suddenly we had everything in common. And it really opened my heart to this sense of connection that, we're all on this journey together, and we pulled together and we helped each other through, some very, very dark nights when people, one of us would go off for a test or surgery. We'd all sort of pull together, and it was a bond that sort of got us through this really, really tough time in the spinal ward.
And I like that you shined a light on that, because it's not like you were just in the hospital by yourself, thinking and dwelling. You had these others in a similar place to support you. Now, eventually, you did go home, and a nurse had told you, watch out, you're going to get depressed. Janine the machine was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But you did. But you did get depressed.
I did. Yeah, I did.
What was that
I did,
experience
and
like?
I got to the point that you mentioned, which is, I thought, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't walk, I have to use a catheter, I have a body that I can't feel. I didn't want to be here. Why did I make this decision? And I got to a pretty low point in my life. I remember actually being on my bedroom floor, my body covered in a plaster body cast, and crying out in the darkness and saying, I remember, that plea was, God, show me a way through this, or show me a way out. And for me, it was just this call, this anguish of my soul, just not knowing, this immense pain that I'd never felt in my life before. And that was this sort of seminal moment where I really let go. I recognized that I'd made a choice to come back to my body, and I needed to find out why. And I wasn't going to give up until I did. And that moment changed my life forever. For anyone listening, I mean, this is where the story really gets interesting. I was sitting outside in my wheelchair, my plaster body cast, and an aeroplane flew over, and I sort of looked up and thought, well, if I can't walk, maybe I can fly. And it was ridiculous and crazy, and I was driven out to the local airport and lifted up into a light aircraft, and my life changed forever. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn how to fly, and I did.
Well, I have to take 2 steps back. You just took me into the air, and I'm still grappling with the crying on the ground. The thing is I want before we go to the flying, I just want to touch on one thing. You had a broken body. Somebody else might have a broken heart. Someone that might have a broken dream, and here you were, brokenhearted. Then you see this plane, and you have this crazy dream that you'll fly. But what is the switch? How does someone listening today make that switch if they can't see through the light?
Yeah. I think for me it was firstly the recognition very clearly that I'd made a choice, and we all have a choice. It really is that. It is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. We have a choice. And that is to let go of our own agenda. We can hold on so tightly to the way we think our lives are supposed to be, but we're exactly where we're supposed to be because that's where we are. And when we live like that, everything changes. One of my, favorite expressions is, that you're letting go of the life you have to get the life that's waiting for you. And, I think that when you're willing to let go, suddenly life is filled with sort of infinite possibilities. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because it's not. And every day of my life is challenging, living with a disability. But, just because you can't do the things you did before, whether it's in work, whether it's in a relationship, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that life still can't be spectacular. It's just going to be different.
And different it is. And so now we leap into your story where you get this idea that you're going to learn how to fly, because why not, right? But there's the technical. But there's the technical. How?
Yeah.
Please tell me how. How did you do
well,
this?
at first, of course, I couldn't move my leg.
Okay.
so I could only use the hand controls. But, it was almost like this, there was something inside me that was lit, burning so brightly, that I was alive and my soul was alive, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And, I just threw myself into it and threw myself into my rehab. And eventually I did learn to walk again, albeit I walk with a limp, and I have no feeling in my legs. I'm still technically a paraplegic, a walking paraplegic, but I learned to fly, and I didn't just learn to fly. I got my private pilot's license. I didn't even know that I'd even pass a medical, but I did. And I got my private license. I got my commercial license. I got my instrument rating, my commercial pilot's license, my instructor rating, my aerobatics rating. And then I found myself in a job teaching people aerobatics, basically teaching people to fly upside down.
Now, I'm just curious, Janine. You had a lot of successes as an athlete, and now you were having, as a disabled woman, flying planes, and I mentioned this disability part because obviously you had hurdles to get around to do that. Was the feeling of being an accomplished athlete the same or different? How were these accomplishments compared to the ones you had previously felt?
Well, obviously I used a lot of the tools that I developed and learned as an athlete, and I'll talk about one of those in a minute. But, the biggest thing for me, there was a sense of almost embarrassment about my body. I'd been this sort of elite athlete, this very powerful, physical, person, and suddenly I was, a person who I couldn't walk, I had to use a catheter, I had a body that I was almost ashamed of. And that was a big thing for my self-esteem. I think that's why I needed to go and do something that was extraordinary, because I needed to do that for myself. I thought I had something to prove to other people, but actually I had something to prove to myself. So it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. But in a way, it was all I had. And it kept me very present, very in the moment. It was incredible for my self-esteem. But I think the one thing is that as an athlete, I'd been, trained myself to tackle everything and to endure a certain amount of pain. I had this philosophy that, I love the hills. And so I just threw myself into it in the same way. It was difficult, but I was going to do it because I love the hills. I kept reminding myself, come on, Janine, you love the hills. And, that philosophy didn't just make me physically strong, but mentally tough. And that got me through the most difficult period of my life.
Wow. I love that. And now you're off teaching others, which is great. And for somebody listening today who has a disability themselves, or maybe it's their sister or brother or son or daughter, what is your words of advice for how somebody who is able, who can help inspire someone who has a disability to stretch for more, to know that their life is worth it?
Yeah, well, of course, life is worth it. I mean, we've made a choice to be here, and of course, if anyone, listens to my TED Talk, the title was "You're Not Your Body," and I realized that, I thought my strength was in my body, but it's not. It's in our spirit, and we all have that. It doesn't matter what disability we have; we all have that. And what's really important when you've lost, something in life, we're all going to lose. And life is, about loosening our grip on the things we think gives our life value. But it's about refocusing, about finding the thing that ignites the spirit. And there's something out there for everybody. We can do more, we can be more, and just to never give up. Just keep that search going. Find the thing that brings you to life and brings joy into your life. And also to remember, for anyone out there that's going through a really tough time, you're not alone.
Yeah. No, I get that. And
we're all in this together.
And it's interesting. I'm legally blind, and so that's my disability. And I'm reminded every day, but there are moments that I forget that I'm blind. I'm like, I'm not thinking about it. Do you have those moments too?
Yeah.
So the moral of the story, right, is over time, when you find that confidence in yourself, when you have that passion, that direction, the disability doesn't define you anymore. It doesn't limit you.
That's right, and it's amazing. You'll surprise yourself, as you know, Nancy, what you could do when you put your energy into something else, and also get out of your small story and into a bigger sort of human collective story. And that is that, the message is that when we're all in this together, and there's a tremendous amount of hope that comes from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Janine, thank you so much for being on today's show and sharing your story with us. And I really encourage everybody to re-listen to this interview again, because you've just opened my eyes bigger, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. And everybody, when we come back, we're going to be taking your calls. And again, this is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari, so stay with us. We will be back.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in the shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt. There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt. There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self. And I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing.
The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
To compromise when you live full out doesn't mean that you're giving up. It doesn't mean that you're handing over control to another person or to life. It means that you're finding a halfway point. You're finding a way to free yourself from the crises, the tragedies, the challenges in your life. You're choosing to live your life full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
All right, final segment of the show, but I want to thank everybody for joining us today because, wow, it has been truly an honor to be with you and talking about compromise today. That's what the Living Full Out show is all about, and that's been our focus, is how do we find compromise with ourselves, with our bodies, with our schedules, with other people. And so hopefully over the course of this hour, you've thought about where in your life you need to find a compromise. And if you didn't find the answers, we want to support you even beyond this call if you were to reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, I have a word from our producer that we have another caller on the line. We're going to go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to Living Full Out Show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
Well, I've been paired at work with a coworker that I find very difficult to work with, and I need some suggestions on how to handle the situation if I get to my frustration point with the whole situation.
I don't even think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when, right? It'll be a matter of when. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever had to work with somebody before that you didn't see eye to eye with?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you take away from that experience?
Well, I found it easier with that person to be very direct and straightforward and able to find a way to divide the job up and work together. But I feel like this person that I'm being paired with isn't capable of compromising and being a team player. Mm-hmm. And he tends to take all the credit for everything, even though he does less than half the work.
Right. Though there are those that walk among us that have that way about them, and you all know who you are. No, I'm kidding. But here's the deal. Have you turned to your supervisor, your manager, anybody else for support?
Yeah, and my manager has complimented me on being a team player, mm-hmm. and I feel like I've been put with this person mm-hmm. to force this person to grow, but I also am not happy with that because I feel like that's not my position in the company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so
But it is a compliment from my boss, but
it is a compliment.
I don't know how much support I'm going to get from my boss on the situation.
Well, let's look at it like this, okay? This is not going to be a lifetime partner, so you know there's going to be a close to it at some point, right? So,
True.
But for the time that you are partners together, take it on in two different ways. Take it on professionally, how you can evolve, and personally, how you can grow. And I'll explain quickly the difference. Professionally, you already know that others think of you in a high regard, right? So that's already established. But there are always going to be professionally different characters, different personalities, and now you're up against one that you need to troubleshoot. You need to go deep and maybe even learn new tools of how you can better communicate with this person. And yes, they are going to be the one that takes all the credit for half of the work, but you know that. And everybody else knows that. So you got to find a way to dig deeper. And if you are, and granted, it is not part of your job description or role to do this, but professionally you're being asked to grow, not by your managers, but by the universe as a whole. Take that on. Say to yourself, you know what? I've been given this professional opportunity to mentor, coach, work with this person, and I'm going to take this on and I'm going to do it. Now on the personal side, we're still going to meet these people in our life. And maybe there'll be an opportunity where you're a mentor for somebody else. It may be a child, it may be a teenager, it may be a friend. What you will learn from working with this person, troubleshooting the negative pitfalls, but also finding successes, you will then be able to go on to share that knowledge with others. You are meant to have this partner. And I can't wait. I have to ask you to call back into the show and let us know how it goes. It's going to be a challenge.
Okay.
It's going to make you compromise on things that maybe you wouldn't have before. But again, take that as an opportunity to professionally grow and personally develop. And if you look at it like that, it's not that that person is taking anything from you. Look at all that you're going to gain from this experience in developing yourself. Do you see that?
Yeah, no, that's a great perspective to have, so thank you.
Yeah, and wash all of the other, all the self-talk, all the doubts, all the concerns, all the stresses, wash them away and make this a little bit self-serving for yourself. I, as an amazing mentor and professional, will handle this. I will do it. I believe in you.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in. And I want to thank everybody. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who called in today, because it's all about finding a compromise. And sometimes that's not easy. But remember, the answers are within yourself. And when you don't have the answers, when you're struggling, that's what we're here for. That's why you can either email us at connect@livingfullout.com. You can go to livingfullout.com, hear this show over again to get motivated, to get supported. And all the friends and family in your life, they want you to be stress-free and successful as well. So many options on the table. I want to also thank our Living Full Out team today. We have Riley, and we have Rich, and we have Elizabeth, and Sam, and everybody who puts this show together. And again, I look forward to seeing you next week for more guests, more callers, more inspirational topics. But most of all, it's about you finding your way to living your life full out. See you next week.